everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to Week in Review. This is a video that we put out every week, and in fact, this week is pretty much the only video we're doing because we're all at Dice Tower West. But in this, we go back, kind of give you an index of all the videos we did last week, talk about them briefly, and then if you want to see more, we have links to them in the description of this video. So let's get started. So, here we go.
Hey everybody, I'm Zee Garcia. Here's what I reviewed last week. So I reviewed Nicodemus, which I rate a 6 out of 10. This is a 2-player spin-off from Imaginarium. And in it, you are going to be playing cards that are supposed to be dream machines, something like that. It's a very strange thing. You'll be playing those to take actions, or you'll be building them from the ones that have been played by either you or your opponent. The game's very quirky. It is, in many ways, counterintuitive. There's a lot of symbology, which is very tricky to understand. You're going to want to keep a reference nearby at all times, and there's just the one in the rulebook. But I enjoy it. For all of its quirks and its strangeness, I like the game. If you like the original Imaginarium game, which is a much bigger game multiplayer, then I think it's likely that you'll like this one as well. It keeps a lot of the same feelings in it. But it can be a divisive game because the look is so strange and the game is kind of quirky. I reviewed Rest in Peace, which I rate a 7 out of 10. This is a 2-player game as well, but it's a much more straightforward tug-of-war style game in which you are going to be playing cards to different locations, mansions or manors, trying to control that location. It is the kind of game in which when you play to that location, you either must be beating your opponent at the end of that turn, or you can back off, and they win that location. But the neat twist is, if you lose a location, you then get a card, which has a special ability. Those cards are a little tricky to interpret as well in this game. There's a lot of them with some symbology that is might trip you up a bit. But I like the idea of planning ahead, of conserving your very limited deck of cards in order to win something later on, knowing when to back off. And I think this one works nicely. Very quick filler, very light game. The replayability isn't really going to perhaps be there for you, but I enjoyed it nevertheless. And then lastly, a fantastic game I reviewed, Long Shot, the dice game, which I rate a 9 out of 10. And this is a roll and write kind of game in which you are racing horses, betting on them, buying the horses, taking different actions in order to come out on top and have the most money at the end of the game. This is also sort of a reworking of a game that came out in 2009 called Long Shot. But this is just so tight. They kept so much of the interesting parts of the original and added so many new things, abilities, everybody is taking an action on everybody else's roll of the dice, which is a very modern thing, right? So I really like it. It's great look, really neat components, tightly packaged, but roomy enough that everything fits well. Really a great roll and write style game. Long Shot, the dice game. And that's it for me, everybody. I'll see you on the next one.
Hi everyone, I'm Liz Boccolini, and this week I reviewed Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. This is a card game where at certain points you are slapping the central pile of cards and you're trying to be the first to get rid of all your cards. I gave this one a 7 out of 10.
Hey there everybody, it's Mike DiLisio, and this week I did one review. I did a review for the first expansion for the Reckoners called The Reckoners Steelslayer. I gave this an 8 out of 10 and a seal of approval. It's a modular expansion that adds a lot of things that I like, some very clever little twists to the Reckoner system without changing the feel of the game, and that's something that I feel is a very big positive. It still feels like the Reckoners, some neat little twists. It does, in my opinion, make the game significantly more difficult. Just about everything that they added to the game ups the challenge, and so that is something to be aware of. If you already felt like the base game of the Reckoners was difficult, this expansion might not work as well for you, but if you have played through it a number of times and you want some nice twist to the formula, this expansion does a very nice job of that. Well, that's it for me this week. Let's keep it moving.
Okay, so first of all, I have Stop the Train. Stop the Train, just a really terrible game. The train is going and you're trying to stop it or speed it up, but it's not a very good game. There's so many messy elements to it. It sounds so cool. It's not. 3 out of 10. Then Miniquest Adventures, which I really did not like. I thought it'd be cool, flipping through a book, going through. Terrible rules, terrible pieces, and just really boring game. 4 out of 10. Star Trek Missions. This is a follow-up to Fantasy Realms, a game I really like. And I mean, that game I ranked fairly highly. This one I'm only ranking a 5 because they took a game that was fun and made it very obtuse, trying to figure out what to do and what cards to collect. HeroQuest. All right, so HeroQuest, this is the new revised version from Hasbro Pulse, which is their version of Kickstarter. I finally got my copy of it. It's beautiful production, great miniatures and everything. I only give it a 6 out of 10, though. It's okay. But they could have changed some things. Yeah, it's nostalgia. Keep it the same. Keep it simple. I don't even have a problem with them keeping it simple. But things like roll to move, things that, you know, there's been so much development in the past 30 years since this came out. I don't understand why they couldn't have added any of that development in the mix. My kids liked it a little better. Dream Crush. This is like a guilty pleasure style game, as you pick who your dream crush is from a lot of people. But it's a fun little game in trying to guess other people. This is about the lowest 7 I can give something, but I enjoyed it. Trollfest. So Trollfest is it's a little bit of a clunky game, but you're building a band of fantasy people going around and singing in cities, and it's drafting, playing action cards. There's some rough corners to the game, but overall, I just found it to be a really fun experience. 7.5. Watch. This is another 7.5. This one, the gameplay is pretty solid. It doesn't look that great when you look at it, but you're in this Soviet factory, and it's like a worker action selection with a clock going around and area control. It's hard to explain this one in a short period of time, so go watch the full review. Creature Comforts, also 7.5s. Creature Comforts is the newest game from Kids Table Board Games. Really like this game. The best thing about this game is you're speculating where to put your workers. I've never seen that in a game before, and also has a great production from this company. Then we have Voices in My Head. This is an 8 out of 10. I really like this. It's a wonky game. It's weird. It does things I've not seen a game do before, where you're playing a prosecutor or the guilty conscience of the guy on the stand, or the innocent or the selfishness of that guy. I like it. It's silly, it's fun, and it doesn't take too long. And it just feels like a breath of fresh air in the game design. We also did some other stuff this week, some top 10s. I did the top 10 games that were played on the cruise. I did my top 10 games from Matago in my publisher series. Our big top 10 list, we had Trey Parker from South Park show up here. Very nice of him to do that and give his top 10 games with some pretty cool surprises. And I think he knows more about games than I do. I put up our game show that we had on the cruise. We were able to record that through the cruise ship, and I thought it looked pretty good. I did some Q&As. We had some board game breakfasts. And our final podcast went up this week of the Dice Tower podcast. We got some other stuff in the works for the future, but that was a fun way to get things ended, I suppose. Other videos went up all week, so hopefully you check them out. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been Week in Review on the Dice Tower.